This is Shane Pearce here once again with Francis Warren, part 2, here to talk about Vijender Singh. As we know, Francis always goes on about him and how much he adores him, and even previously claimed that he'd beat Badu Jack. So what's going on with Vijender Singh, and what's the plans going ahead with him?
We've got a couple of options for Vijender. Obviously, Star TV, with the host broadcaster from India, for the fight in Delhi in July. Keen to get him back out in Mumbai for his next show. We're working on that and working on a date. They're trying to get him back as quickly as possible. My hesitation is obviously we want him to have a full training camp. The date they're proposing is the 21st of October, which is just around the corner, and it only gives him 4 weeks to train. And as he's obviously ranked number 10 now, it's not, when he's into that sort of, that stage of his career already where we can't take any risks at all with his training camp. So I'm quite hesitant to go that quickly. Another option would be to get him to fight another time in the UK on one of our cards on the undercard. But ideally for me, we'll get him out in November in Mumbai in another WBO ranking fight. Obviously, he's the Asia Pacific champion. So yeah, it's just about continuing his development. He's only a year old as a pro. He's just 7 fights in his first year, and I think his development has been exceptionally fast. He's had the summer off, which I was very, very keen for him to have after having so many fights in such a short space of time. But obviously he's a superstar in India, and ideally he will fight in India in his next fight. But if the demand is that high that people want him out quicker than that, we'll have to look at it. But ideally for me, he'll have another couple of weeks off and then get back into full camp for a fight in Mumbai in November.
Is there any specific popular names in the UK or around the world that you could see him fighting within the next year?
I think from the UK, I like the fights against the following. Bear with me. I like, obviously Blackledge is the Commonwealth champion. Luke Blackledge, who's a good fighter, tough guy, and that's a good fight, 50-50 fight. I think that's obviously Vijender's early doors in his career, as I've said, but he is amateur experience, and he's had that 12 months as a pro, and I think Luke fancies it as well. Not sure if Luke fancies going to India, so that might be a bit of a stumbling block. I think Rocky Fielding would be a good fight for Vijender. A very, very, these are tough tests. I'm not, there's no point in beating around the bush. Vijender's got to be on top form for any of these guys, but he wants to challenge himself against the best. He's 31, Vijender, so it's not like he's looking for any easy jobs. He wanted to get in the top 10 in the WBO or in the world rankings, and he's done that with the WBO. With the guidance of myself and my team. So I might mention sort of guys who you think are above his level, but I think fights against the likes of Blackledge, Rocky Fielding, perhaps a David Brophy wouldn't be a bad challenge. David, he's a tough guy. Had a good couple of rounds before George Groves, came a bit. Got on top of him, I think there could, Lee Markham, if Vijender was to come down to middleweight, which I'd like to see. I'm encouraging him to come down to middleweight as well for a fight to see how he gets on there. But these are the sort of guys I want him to fight over the next couple. And you mentioned the quote I said about Badu Jack. I don't believe he's a million miles off that. And when I say a million miles, I'm talking 3 or 4 fights down the line. He beat Badu in the amateurs, and obviously the amateurs is a hell of a lot different to the pro game. But Vijender's style fits in with Badu Jack's style, and I think that's a good fight to be made, hopefully at some point down the line. Any fighter that comes forward to have a fight, Vijender's got a good chance against, because he's got that long reach, he's got power in both hands, fantastic jab. But what Vijender needs is the experience against the tricky guys. And by tricky guys, there's a list that I don't need to go through. What I'm talking about. So he's not running before he can walk, but there's no need to sprint just yet. It's about choosing the right fights at the right time. But most importantly for me, I want him to have a full 8 to 10 week camp, and also to see if he can make middleweight.
Another quick question, just to round off the interview. Obviously, a lot of boxers under Box Nation seem to go down the WBO route. Is there any particular reason for that?
I think there's a long-established relationship between my father and the WBO, and if you go back to sort of the Nassim days, and I think it's you have people you have good working relationships with, and you obviously you continue those, but that's not to say we don't have good relationships with all the other guys. Paul Butler was an IBF champion. You know, we've had guys fighting for WBA titles. You know, Jazza Dickens just recently challenged for the WBA title. So you know, we have a fantastic relationship with all four of the major governing bodies. But it just so happens that the WBO seems to come through for our guys, and they want our guys, you know, in their rankings.
Thanks for talking to PSV Sports once again, Francis, and it would be good to have you on the channel again.